Hi, this is Joe, and this is the Filmjoe Podcast, where film talk happens.
One, two, three, four.
Hi, I'm Joe, your host, and I'm joined here with Carlos. Say hi, Carlos.
Hi, everybody.
And welcome back to the podcast where we talk about films, filmmakers, trends, the good, the bad, and the not so bad, all in the spirit and love for film. So, in this episode, we're going to, which by the way, we are releasing a day early to land right on that very special day, which is what?
Valentine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, time to get your groove on. And so we're going to cover films that we think that will fit perfectly in the holidays theme. Now, we didn't pick films that are typical romantic, sweet, saccharine, toothache kind of films. We kind of took a different route, right?
Absolutely. We wanted to do something different that still encapsulates the whole theme of love in a way, shape, or form.
Exactly. There is love because what? Love is in?
The water.
No, it's in the air.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do? We chose some films that, per genre, like horror, comedy, so forth, that have elements of love in it.
But before anything, I mean, what have you seen lately? What have you been watching? What's been on your watch list, man?
Okay, well, let's see. What did I just recently watch? I saw an interesting film. I saw a film with Harrison Ford. It was kind of a different film. It was a romance film. Kind of fits within the theme of the show. It was with Harrison Ford, Blake Lively, Ellen Bernstein, and Anthony Ingruber.
Ah,
You know who that is?
probably not by name, but by face, sure.
Well, if you see him, ironically enough, you'll kind of recognize him. He's kind of a dead ringer for a young Harrison Ford.
Ah,
And in this film, he plays a young version of Harrison Ford. In fact, he was really, when the fans heard of the Han Solo film that came out from Disney a few years ago, he was like right up, like fans wanted him. Because he would do a really great Harrison Ford imitation. Mannerism, voice, and even the eyebrow, the look. He looks like Harrison Ford. But of course, Disney, in the infinite wisdom, they went with somebody.
different than what everybody else wanted.
Yeah, but this guy's great. He does play a younger version of Harrison Ford in this. It's an interesting film. It's basically about a woman who stops aging back in like 1932. And she stays 29 forever.
Must be nice.
Yeah, but she has to move and stuff because it's like, okay, it's been 20 years and she still looks the same. But people are like, yo, what kind of cream are you using? So she has to move and stuff and create another identity and so forth. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it's an interesting film. I did have one drawback on it.
Which is?
There's a narration that goes with the film. And it sounds like those old 50s science documentaries that they show in the schools. And in this situation, the character, it kind of takes away. I think had they used her voice in narrating her own story, I think it would have been more effective. It also came across kind of like lame, but it was all right. It was interesting. What really raised it above was Harrison Ford.
I mean, he's a great character. I mean, he's a great actor, too.
Yeah, he definitely raised it up a level, as did Ellen Bernstein, who played the mother in The Exorcist, the original Exorcist.
Trip out.
Yeah.
But what was the name of the movie?
Oh, did I not mention the name?
I don't remember you mentioning a name.
Oh, Age of Adeline.
Thank you for informing us.
Okay. So the next film I saw was, I did a rewatch of Wakanda Forever.
Okay. Now, what'd you think about it?
Well, it's my second viewing of it, and I thought I'd give it another shot, because initially when I saw it, it's not a great film. That was my initial, it's not a great film. But I didn't think it was a bad film either. It was just, especially...
I mean, Wakanda, Black Panther, the first one was great. I mean, it was a really good, enjoyable film. And to follow that one up, especially after the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman,
Yeah,
it's a tough, sell.
it is. I mean, So watching it again, I'm okay. Maybe I'll like it this time
Mhm.
a little more. Maybe I can give it an 8.
Right.
No, it's still a 7.
That's an appropriate grade, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of my favorite parts about the movie, being Mexican and representing la cultura, would be Namor. He
Tenoch Huerta. Yeah.
Tenoch Huerta.
Oh.
Wow.
He is an amazing character an amazing actor.
Yeah.
I did have a problem with his character in the sense, well, the way it was written. Is he a villain?
Yeah.
Is
It's
he-
because they couldn't have a clear victor because it would just be like, oh well, it's the Wakandans fighting the Namorians.
Oh, make
or
it,
whatever.
yeah, a social issue.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They can't really name a victor in the case.
Yeah, but nonetheless, he brought class and a certain gravitas to the role.
Mhm.
It'd be interesting what the MCU does with him in the future. Maybe they'll turn him around more towards an obvious hero. But again, to me, the script was not tight enough. It seemed rushed. I shed, maybe one or two, it was kind of touching in the beginning,
Mhm.
which was the Marvel MCU logo.
And it's just full Chadwick, kind of like a memorial.
memorial in silence.
Yeah, it was nice. That was nice.
And that was appropriate. And in the ending, or the post-credit scene, which I'm not going to give away for those of you who haven't seen it, very touching. But once the movie starts, as you know, Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away, so they had to write his character out where his character dies. I'm sorry, it's an obvious spoiler.
Yeah, that was the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, within 5 minutes of the film, you're thrust in the middle of already an existing situation where he's dying and they're trying to save his life. I was sitting there going, what happened?
Yeah.
What was the situation that just transpired? And then, of course, he dies. And then 5 minutes later, it's his funeral. Then they're like, okay, let's move on. It seemed rushed, unfortunately. I think Chadwick Boseman, he definitely deserved a better send-off.
Yeah.
Not only for this character, but for him as the great actor he was.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's what I got. That's what I got to see recently. What about you?
Well, started school, so basically been just watching videos on my school's website about what to do, what not to do. So not a whole lot to really watch, and had no spare time. But I did watch a couple films in preparation for today's episode, which we will talk about. But other than that, what did I have on my spare time?
Anime.
I had like an episode of an anime, so not a whole lot that I could talk about
Okay, cool.
this week.
Well, and why don't we get romantic with the movies?
With the movies, very clearly not us.
Yes.
No, thank you.
That would be weird.
On so many different levels.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to dive into films per genre that have elements of love
Mhm.
or romance. So we're going to start with horror. The film we chose is 1983's John Carpenter classic, Christine. A nerdish boy buys a strange car with an evil mind of his own, and he starts to get weird soon after.
I remember the first time you said, "Oh, tonight this movie we're gonna be watching a movie about a dude falls in love with his car and the car is kind of possessed." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I guess interesting watch."
Yeah,
And that movie was great, dude.
even by today's standard.
I mean, the effects on that were absolutely great.
Oh yeah, well one of the great scenes. Oh, I just bumped the microphone. One of those one of the scenes that really stood out to me was when Christine is destroyed
Mm-hmm.
and beaten with bats and glass is broken, and he's all distraught because his Christine is dead.
Yeah.
And he tells her, show me that you're still alive. And the car starts to pop out and
And everything starts to fix itself,
it was incredible. Nowadays, of course, that would be pure CGI, but
Oh, yeah.
what they did back then was they had this malleable kind of metal, kind of like an aluminum kind of metal,
Uh-huh.
and they fashioned the entire car or the parts they were filming.
Right.
And they had suction cups or inside the metal with hoses.
Uh-huh.
So what they would do is they would suck the air inward and it will pop the metal in.
Ah. See what I thought what they did was that they just filmed it in reverse.
No, that's what they did.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah.
That's where I was going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, then they just played it in reverse and you see the car come back. And it's one of the most effective bone-chilling sequences in the film. But the romance, it's every time Christine, because she was very protective of Arnie, played by Keith Gordon, who did a great job. Because you see his transformation from a nerdy geek to this really, I wouldn't say a bad boy or badass. He just went weirdo.
Yeah. You try having a romance with your car, see how you turn out.
There's people out there who have tried, I'm sure. Yeah. You see that transformation and the way Carpenter structures that romance. She can't talk, but he uses the element of music from the radio. There's one scene when he's there with his girlfriend, his actual physical flesh and blood girlfriend, and she's in the car, and the radio pops on. It's like, in the place, you're mine, and we were meant to be an oldie. You're mine, and we were meant to be together, or something like that.
Right.
And there's another scene where they're trying to break in, and then they play Little Richard's "Keep Knocking, But You Can't Come In." Great stuff. It's a great film. I never got to read the novel.
Not that way.
I think I did. That was a long time ago. I can't remember. No, actually, I did read like the first few chapters of it and never got to finish it. But from what I gathered in the book, although in the book it's established that it was some sort of evil spirit that transferred itself in the car.
Okay.
And that's never established.
Yeah, it's
in
never
the film.
even mentioned, talked about, or nothing.
Yeah, but what's interesting to establish more of the romance, because there is a romance between this dude and his car.
Yeah.
It sounds weird just saying it, but and so what they did was Keith Gordon, who played Arnie, he would do is he would imagine and pretend that the car was an actual woman. Yeah,
that's the only way you gotta approach it if you're gonna be doing this.
Yeah, so he would go up to the fender or the door and pretend it was, I don't know, a thigh or a breast.
Whatever feels appropriate.
And he would pretend that's what it was. And he would rub it and caress it for the scene in a very sensuous way to kind of get that romance or lust or strange obsession with
a car.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, you do sense the romance or the love, at least the love or obsession that the car, she has for him and vice versa. But it's a great thriller. One of those timeless classics like Cujo or something like that that is still punching in the gut to this day. And it wasn't about massive CGI or hardcore special effects, because if you think about it, the movie had only that one scene.
Right.
That was really impressive. The rest of it was just a car with blackened windows, so you can't see the driver.
Mm.
And even little details like the license plate, the first three letters are QCB, which is short for close. Well, actually, what was it? CQB for close quarter battle.
Oh, okay. So like little hints thrown in there every here and there.
Right. So that was pretty neat, but definitely great holiday movie for Valentine's, right?
Nothing sets the mood better than a horror movie to begin with.
A horror movie or horror?
Horror.
Okay, horror movie.
Horror.
That's a different kind of film.
Yeah, different films
Okay.
that we don't talk about.
Yeah, not on this podcast. So now we're going to go comedy. And we're going to go with a film that came out in 2009 about a pushy boss who forces her assistant to marry her in order to keep her visa status in the United States and not get deported to Canada. We're talking about
The Proposal.
Yes, with Sandra Bullock and our man
Ryan Reynolds.
The man.
And Betty White. Don't forget Betty White.
Oh, Betty White.
Betty White was absolutely amazing in that film, too.
Oh, she was great. She was awesome. Yeah, I saw that, man, I think I saw it the same year it came out. Great film.
Absolutely funny.
The chemistry between Reynolds and Sandra Bullock. And then again, Sandra Bullock is one of those actresses that you pair her with just the right person and she comes out with gold.
Oh, yeah.
What was the most recent one she did?
She kind of appeared in Bullet Train with Brad Pitt for like the last-ish minutes.
Right.
You know? But, yeah.
Oh, and the other one, the one where she
The island something. The Lost Island?
lost. Oh, okay.
With Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum. The lost. Well, we'll figure.
That movie.
Yeah, that movie where
Where they're looking for a lost island with treasure, and
Right.
Harry Potter's in there too.
Oh yes, great film, a lot of fun. Yeah, again, Sandra Bullock, she has that spark on film, and it works. And again, the chemistry that she has with
The Lost City.
the
That was
Lost City,
close.
that's the one. And Brad Pitt makes a cameo in that. Now we're not going to ruin it for anybody who has not seen it and who wants to see it, but Brad Pitt makes a cameo that will blow you away. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
So I think it was a cross favor that he did a cameo in her film and she did a cameo in his film. Apparently they're good friends.
Fair trade off.
Yeah. So of course, towards the end they end up falling in love. No, sorry if I spoiled it, but it's kind of obvious that's the way these films roll. You know?
Right.
It's not like she's going to reject him. He commits suicide and
And then she gets deported anyways.
she gets deported, and then we have Armageddon afterwards. No, it's not going to be like that.
No.
But good film. So next we're going to go with a drama.
Oh.
Yes, some heavy duty stuff. It stars James Garner and Jenna Rollins, and it's basically a story based in a modern day nursing home where an elderly man begins to read a love story from his notebook to a fellow patient. And the movie is from 2004. It's a film called The Notebook.
Mhm.
Now, you just recently saw it.
I had never seen The Notebook before, and I had watched it for this episode, and I had enjoyed it. I get the whole hype behind it, you know, being like, oh my god, The Notebook, we have to watch it. It's so great. It's the best thing ever. I get it. I genuinely did enjoy it as a romance drama.
Yeah, what I liked about it was it wasn't a saccharine, sugary, sweet, kind of typical romance, cheesy kind of film.
Right.
But it was really nice. I mean, it deals with real life kind of romance and love that really hits you in the gut. It really does. Really beautiful film. In fact, what's interesting about that is, well, I loved her performance, Jenna Rollins.
Right.
She was fantastic. It was so sad. I mean, so tragic the way her character came across. But you know, her son Nick Cassavetes directed this film, so he got to direct his mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would genuinely have a fun time telling my mom what to do, how to film. Like, no, not over there, not over here. I said over there.
Now it's my turn.
More
to boss you.
emotion. Now I get to tell you what to do.
Right? Yeah.
With the love, of course.
Of course,
Of course,
because
of
she
course.
does listen to this podcast, and
Yes.
she will pound you to the ground.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, it's just a beautiful film. I mean, it had resonance of film. Well, like the first 10 minutes of Up.
Oh,
Yeah,
that breaks my heart every time I watch it.
yeah. I can't. You know, the whole movie. I can deal. If I had to, if I don't want to, I'll bypass the first 10 minutes and just watch the rest because I will cheer up.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful film, and that's what this has. It's not about young people. Well, I'm not gonna ruin it because I know I ruined it for you.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah. So
He spilled a little bit too much about the plot when he was explaining it to me, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna watch it regardless. And then I ended up figuring out not a major plot point, but a plot point of the movie. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I know where this is going, so thank you, Joe.
but you still enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, but I'm not saying that I didn't. I'm just saying, like, I would have had rather gone into this movie blind than know something that I was told.
Well, next time I don't tell you.
Next time, which is why I don't say anything about any movie. I'm just like, dude, you just gotta watch it. Just thank me later.
All right. So with that, let's move to our next film with the genre's action, a romantic action film. How can that be?
Action film. They're not romantic.
But
Say the contraire.
au contraire, mon frère. We're going to go with a film about an ex-hitman who comes out of retirement to track down the gangsters that killed his dog and took his car. Sounds ridiculous? No, we're talking about 2014's John Wick.
I mean, okay, yeah, it's guns blazing, having killed like a bunch of hitmen for revenge against the dog. Absolutely insane. But if you at its base core, it's a revenge story about his character's love for his dead wife.
Yeah, because she gave him the dog.
She gave him the dog.
Post-mortem, I believe. After she passed away.
Yeah.
sometime-
I think the note left something like, so you can have something to love instead of me or something like that.
Oh.
And that just, it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts.
And, so some bad guys come in and they kill his dog and he goes all Rambo on them.
Mm-hmm.
And the results are fantastic. It's actually a really awesome movie.
Oh, yeah.
This is where they kind of introduce or reintroduce, if it was done before, but in an incredible way. This was it gun fu, where it's a combination of gunplay with martial arts. And what's incredible is that Keanu Reeves, he did if you watch this, bear in mind he did 90% of his own stunts, and these weren't just easy. Okay.
Just run here down this hallway and then take a sharp left.
Yeah, no, this involved some really intricate, dangerous stuff. In fact, there was this one stuntman who had within the act of, or within the action sequence, he had his ear almost completely sliced off.
Oh.
That it landed on his shoulder, pinned, kind of hanging there by strings of flesh. 80 stitches.
Oh.
And so when they brought him back later on for additional scenes after he was all stitched up, they had to kind of shoot him from the side that he didn't have the Van Gogh ear going, But it was pretty intense. In fact, Keanu is, we all love Keanu.
Absolutely.
Except for one film, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
He's an all-in kind of actor.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I believe he's a black belt.
He is a black belt due to his training from the Matrix.
He
originally got into martial arts because of the Matrix, and after shooting had finished, he was kind of like, I kind of really like this. I want to continue, and on his own time, he continued.
Yeah.
His martial arts.
He did a couple. I think he did another film called Ronin, 47 Ronin.
47 Ronin, yeah.
So it's something he really loves. In fact, even weapons training. He would train 8 hours a day, 4 months on weapons training. Mm. I mean, and if you watch the film, you get it.
Yeah, it pays off.
Yeah, because he has the gun, he picks it up, he shoots it a certain way, flips it here, flips it there, pops out the cartridge. I mean, that really requires a lot of gun knowledge or skill, which he took very seriously. In fact, and it's funny because I read a story that he actually, when that film was done, he gifted the stuntman, I forgot what it was Rolexes or Harley Davidsons or something.
Oh, so it's something small.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, yeah, but you did 90% of your own stunts. That's for the other guys, the guys who didn't want to do their own stunts, you on their behalf. But yeah, it's incredible. And now we're up to chapter 4 that's coming out this March?
Yeah, the 4th part is coming out.
Yeah, and I can't wait to watch it. Those are sequels. I mean, there's part 2 and 3 that I've watched, and they don't get old. I mean, they're just fresh.
Well, I mean, we're not going into the John Wick movies for deep plot points about war crimes and about this and that. Honestly, no, we're there to see dudes' heads blow off and gun fu, man. That's what we're there for. Well, granted, the story in itself is really good and it's really well written.
Well, you know what? It's structured that way. So it's like, hey, don't expect this is what we're going to give you. Enjoy. It's not pretentious.
Yeah.
It's not trying to sell you, I don't know.
Car insurance.
A what?
Car insurance.
No, I was thinking Meryl Streep movie.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. So.
Well, I mean, even the one-liners that it has, I'll be seeing you, not if I see you first.
Yeah. And those are really, really bad, but he delivers it. And again, let's just say this up front. We really respect his work. And also from all the stories you hear online about him.
Oh, yeah. Everybody that meets Keanu Reeves or has the pleasure of knowing him says he's an absolute sweetheart.
Yeah.
I would love to meet Keanu Reeves.
Well, when he takes pictures for pretty girls, fans that he meets, if you'll notice, look him up online. He'll have his arms around them, but he's not really touching them.
Mm-hmm. Kind of hovers over. Very respectful. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, God, the great love story.
He can't act this way out of a paper bag sometimes. He's very stiff. I mean, there was a movie called A Walk on the Clouds and The Lake House that he did. Really good films. He's kind of wooden in his delivery, and good stick to speed and John Wick. We love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Matrix. Yeah. So now we're gonna go with
Animated
films. So we're gonna go with the story of a prince who is cursed to spend his day as a hideous monster sets out to regain his humanity by earning the love of a young woman. And what are we talking about?
Beauty and the Beast.
That's right, 1991. Great. Aside from, the film says it itself. You watch it, and it is a beautiful, beautiful love story. Very cliche, by the numbers, but it's just a beautiful film. The animation is, to me, it ranks as one of the top Disney films that have come out during the Disney Renaissance, which started with The Little Mermaid and worked its way up. It's the best one. In fact, they even utilized computer-assisted animation for the film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know what you consider a CGI, but definitely they utilized computer usage to, like the ballroom scene where they're dancing.
Oh, yeah,
No,
not that one. Okay.
Not that one.
Different ballroom.
The one where he puts on this blue suit and he's dancing with her.
Oh, the beauty and yeah.
Dude, that was good.
Thank you.
I
sing on my part time.
Yeah.
Not good, but I sing.
Thank goodness you're going to school. They used rotoscope, which rotoscope is basically, we'll take an existing image, usually live action, of somebody doing something, and then draw over it. In this case, did you know, in a way, it was rotoscoped from Cinderella.
So they used the template from Cinderella for Beauty and the Beast?
Frame by frame. And that was originally, rotoscoped from two actual actors dancing. And so they used that for Beauty and the Beast.
Huh.
Yeah, Disney's notorious for it. Just, you can look up on YouTube where they'll talk about Disney.
Actually, now that you're talking about that, I remember seeing a while back that they did like a comparison between, I think it was The Jungle Book
and Winnie
the Pooh, where they had it side by side playing, and there's like
the same
the kid from Winnie the Pooh and the
Mowgli.
kid from ese. And they're walking side by side, and it's like basically the same. He jumps over a log, he jumps over something.
It's the same, and so they're notorious for doing it. I don't know if I can criticize them for something like that.
I mean, it's cost effective.
Yeah, it is, and
nobody's gonna notice for a 5-second scene.
Yeah, I mean,
but people notice.
Yeah. It took me like 30, 40, 50, whatever years to figure that one out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so definitely one of my favorite, and it's just a pure love story.
Until you realize that Belle just had Stockholm syndrome.
And, well, there's elements of bestiality in there.
That too. She was willing to accept him as a beast. That says something.
Yeah.
You love him, but...
Mix the car thing with Christine Son-Norman.
Yeah.
Pretty much. What? Oh, so pretty much. I thought you said something.
No, I didn't say anything. I was quiet.
So that covers our list of films that you can watch after, a nice evening on Valentine's, that you can watch that are not your run-of-the-mill romantic films.
Right.
So with that, we have some honorable mentions. Some films that are just as good for Valentine's. One is, we're going to go with 1998's The Wedding Singer, where he plays with Adam Sandler.
Right.
And
love Adam Sandler.
Oh,
and some of his work.
Yeah, well,
Jack and Jill was questionable.
More than questionable. That was pretty bad. But he plays a wedding singer, and he falls in love with a waitress, and they both get engaged, but to the wrong people. And so forth, and then you got the whole typical romantic movie trope. Again, it's a movie that's very by the numbers, very tropey, but it's the chemistry between Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. Mm-hmm. And of course, you have Betty White.
Betty White is also in that.
She's in that as well.
Look at Betty White go.
Yeah, and so apparently that chemistry between Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler was so good. They did 3 films altogether.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. They did, well, what was it? The Wedding Singer was the first, and then it was 50 First Dates.
That one's cute as hell, man.
Yeah, it was.
That one's really well done.
Yeah, and blended.
That one was also really good. That one talked about like step families and how they integrate. And
Yeah.
it's a very unique thing because you always see step families and it's kind of like the mean stepmom or the mean stepdad, and it's not a real adaptation of it because most step families are not of that sort.
Right, and it was beautiful. I think, and you look back, and it's all attributed to, you can attribute that to Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler's chemistry together and their on-screen presence, how they work off each other. Because if those three films, the story idea, they're interesting,
Yeah,
but they don't sound that like off. But when you watch them, so
it works really well.
It works really, really well. So the next honorable mention we're going to go with is 1994's The Crow.
That is a love story.
Yes. And a lot of people, when the first movie, it's an action movie, it's a martial arts movie, it's a goth film, but at the
Until you watch it and you realize how depressing it is.
Yeah. I mean, the plot basically is about a man who's brutally murdered on the eve of his wedding to his fiancée, and he comes back to life as an undead avenger to pretty much kill off all the murderers who took his life and his fiancee's life. Starring Brandon Lee, who unfortunately passed away during that film.
Yeah, that was tough to hear. When you were telling me that during the filming of this movie, they had an accident where he died, it was very dark.
And it was sad because it was something that could have been avoided.
Right.
I've worked on a couple of film sets. One film set in particular, I was in charge of the prop gun, and it wasn't a prop gun; it was an actual firearm. It was a revolver.
Mm-hmm.
With my training with firearms, I made sure that gun was safe to use. I mean, it went from the gun case to my hands, visually inspected, up and down, left and right, put down. When the director's like, we're getting ready to shoot, that gun went on the table. I discussed it with the actor, and then we proceeded. Don't point it at anybody, even though you it doesn't have bullets. Always treat a firearm as if it were loaded.
Mm-hmm.
Very important. They didn't do that on this film. As the story goes, basically what it was is that there's a scene, I don't know if you recall, when the bad guys or the thugs, they're in a bar taking shots.
Right.
And they're swallowing bullets. You remember that?
More or less.
Yeah.
I think I know the scene that you're going to talk about where he gets, shot. But...
And so what they did was they needed like a few prop bullets. They didn't have no gunpowder or primer in it. And so they loaded them up into gun. And what they do is they have this barrel. And so what they do is, and it's padded inside, and they'll shoot all the rounds into the barrel.
Okay.
So that they can get the projectiles and put them in. Then they get the shells, they clean the shells out, and they put the projectile back on. And all it is literally a shell of a bullet. It's nothing.
Yeah, you can't fire that.
Yeah. And so those are to be used exclusively as props. Well, while as the story goes, per the investigation, as the gun wrangler was firing him into the barrel, he noticed an odd click, and he figured, it was just nothing. Well, what happened was one of the bullets, the primer, there wasn't enough primer or something in it, but it was a dumbbell, a dummy bullet. It just kind of misfired, and the projectile ended up in the barrel of this gun that they were going to use the next day. He did not know this. So the next day during shooting, they load up the firearm with blanks. So now you have a projectile in the barrel, and you have a blank. Now, a blank is a bullet, or like a bullet without the projectile.
Right.
This thing goes off, and so when the scene comes in, Brandon comes in, they fire it, and he gets shot. And it was just so unfortunate and so unnecessary. I mean, just like what happened recently on the set of Rust with Alec Baldwin.
Oh, right.
Where the cinematographer, I forgot her name, he took her life. And I say it, I know it's controversial, but you have a gun wrangler, you have first AD, the actor, everybody's equally responsible for these firearms on the set. And it's inexcusable. I've trained you in firearms, and we've used those pellet guns, those airsofts.
Yeah.
And what I tell you,
Never point that at anybody.
even though it's a plastic,
Yeah.
never. And so Alec Baldwin, he pulls it out of the holster, and I don't know what happened, but she ended up getting shot. That should not have ever happened.
Right.
So now let's go on with our next film for honorable mention. And we're going to go with the romantic tale of a sheltered uptown Cocker Spaniel dog and meets a downtown mutt. Yeah, we're talking about,
Lady and the Tramp.
yes, from 1955.
Oh, damn, 55?
1955.
That movie's about to turn 100 in a couple decades?
I'm terrible at math, but
That's,
I'll take your word for
horrible at
it.
math, but that's what, 30, 20,
We got people listening. Hey, it's this.
30 32 years.
Something like,
I feel horrible that it took me that long.
no, it's older than that.
No, in 32 years, it'll turn 100.
Right. A great film, just beautiful animation. During the golden, towards the end of the golden era of Disney, because it wasn't until, like, I guess the early 60s that Disney animation kind of took a downturn for money reasons. But Lady and the Tramp, that iconic scene. What's the iconic scene?
I mean, when they're sharing the spaghetti and
Yeah.
he's like giving her the meatball,
Oh,
and then they get the little noodle and they're like, clink.
oh yeah,
That was them kissing.
very,
cute.
very nice. I love that one. It's a great film. They did a remake for Disney.
Wasn't it live action?
It was live action.
Eh.
I heard it was atrocious. Now, I'm sure there's folks out there who have seen it and go, no, it's good. It was beautiful. Good for you. That's your thing. But I saw clips from it, and I tried to watch a couple scenes, and it was kind of hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It was not pleasant at all. And how dare they say this is a live version? It's still CGI.
It's still CGI.
Like-
I don't think you can train dogs to talk. I wish you could, but
That would be cool, wouldn't
it'd be cool, man.
So what they also did a so-called live action version of The Lion King.
Same thing. Granted, the cast was stacked on that. They had Beyonce. They had Seth Rogen.
Oh, it had a great cast.
Yeah. But
And then they tried to sell it off as live action.
it's just animated to look alive.
Well, there was one live action sequence in there.
What was it? Oh, wasn't it the sunrise? Yeah.
That was the only
That's
thing
it.
that was real.
Everything else was in a computer.
So I hate to shatter everyone's illusions, in case you didn't know, but there weren't any real talking lions in this film,
Breaks my heart to
or
see that.
baboons, or ferrets, or whatever they had in that thing.
It wasn't ferrets. It was a lemur.
Lemur?
No, not a lemur. What animal is?
It's something that's
It's something with the little paws.
Timon.
sticking out. Timon, yeah. No. Pumbaa? No, Pumbaa was the warthog. Timon was question mark, whatever animal he was.
He was a rodent.
He was a type of rodent, probably. I
type
don't know
of
what kind of
rodent.
rodent. We don't know.
So, but yeah, great, really, really cool. Lady and the Tramp. If you haven't seen it and you are a Disney fan, check it out.
Meerkat.
Meerkat.
He was a meerkat. Never heard of that, but okay.
No, you know what I have? I saw this really cool documentary once on the Discovery Channel. I know, snooze fast.
Oh
No,
my god.
where they had this. There was a whole. I think it was one of those channels, and they had like this whole community of what are they called?
Meerkat.
Meerkats, and they had a whole bunch of them, and it was really, really cute. Yeah.
You want to talk about really cute? On your spare time, look up a sand cat. Those things grow to be about the average size of a kitten, and they are tiny with cute little big ears. They are the most adorable cat you will ever see
Oh,
on this
wow.
earth, and I had no idea they existed.
So they're cats.
They're cats that live in the desert that are tiny and grow about as an adult, they'll grow about the average size of a little bit bigger than a kitten.
Wait a minute. I think I've seen them. Do they have big ears?
Big ears.
I've seen those. They scare me.
They are adorable.
They scare me. I saw, have you ever seen something you go, wait a minute.
That's
Yeah.
a face only a mother can love.
Yeah. Initially I thought they kind of spooked me. I just have my thing. So next we're going to go with the story of a 17-year-old aristocrat. Not aristocrat.
Aristocrats.
Cat
Yes.
was from
The other one.
the other one, who falls in love with a kind but poor artist aboard the luxurious, ill-fated RMS Titanic. And of course, we're talking about 1997's Titanic, directed by James Cameron.
I feel like every episode we have has something to do with James Cameron.
Cameron's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't really, I mean, I like his films. I
like his films.
Yeah, I find him annoying, but.
I mean, the whole interview that he had, what would for his newest movie, Avatar, what would you say is the best time to go to the restroom, Mr. Cameron? And he said something along the lines of, "Oh, go anytime. You'll be back to see this movie 2 or 3 times anyways."
Wow.
Oh, you cocky little man.
Oh,
dude.
wow. Yeah, in fact, when he won the Academy Award for Titanic, everyone was happy. Oh, yeah,
yay,
You know, it's like.
Oh, nice.
I've been so waiting to use that button. Yeah, when he won the Best Director or for Best Picture, you think, most people go up there for their Academy Award, they're kind of humble or they're goofy or whatever, but he goes up there totally cocky, and he goes, "Yes, now I am the king of the world," and people are like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop clapping
In
now.
fact, I think that was probably that night him and Linda Hamilton broke up.
Oh.
Yeah. And she goes, "That's it. You've embarrassed me for the last time." But nonetheless, I mean, he is an amazing filmmaker.
Yeah.
You can't take that away from him. And Titanic was just an epic, classic Hollywood epic film. It was just beautiful. I saw it in the theater like 4 times. And I cried like a baby every time. It's weird. Even by the fourth time, I'm like, "Come on, Jack. You can fit
make it.
You can fit on that door." And Rose killed him.
They could have fit.
They could have fit.
Mythbusters proved it.
See?
They could have. She was just greedy.
She took him out.
Mm-hmm.
So next we're going to go with this. It's a story about a centuries-old vampire named Count Dracula who comes to England to seduce his barrister Jonathan Harker's fiancée Mina Murray and inflict havoc in a foreign land. We're talking about Francis Ford Coppola's 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Okay, now I've been waiting to talk to you about this movie ever since I saw it last night because you were telling me, okay, we're going to talk about this one in the podcast, so you need to watch it. I was like, okay, cool. Finished it last night, saw it, and I wanted to tell you everything that I thought about this movie, but I was like, I'd rather save it for the episode. Let me begin with saying, the fiance, she didn't deserve that man. Let me tell you. She was in the scene where she's talking to Dracula in the streets, and she's saying like, "Oh, I have a husband. You must be working with him. Otherwise, why you would be talking to me?" Something of the sorts, right? And then Dracula has, "Oh, I'm sorry if I've offended you. My name is Prince, whatever name he gives, right?" And then she all of a sudden acts differently. She's like, "Oh, Prince. Oh, I can show you to the theater anytime." I was like, "You sleazy."
Well, it's Dracula.
Yeah, gold diggers back in the day too, man.
Well, it's Dracula. He cast this spell with his eye.
He cast a money card. That's what he cast.
Well, okay, all right, okay. So her character
Did
was
not like his character, or her character development took a plunge.
Yeah, she was questionable as far as her motives.
Yes.
But then it's Gary Oldman. You know what? I'd have gone to bed with him.
I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm just saying she should have had more willpower.
Just kidding, by the way.
I'm not.
Not that. Whoa. I love. You know what? Okay, romance, right?
Uh-huh.
You got orgies with undead women.
Okay.
Bestiality.
Yeah, she the friend did mess with the werewolf.
Yeah, what was it, Lucy?
Yeah.
Right? In the garden.
Yep.
And that was pretty damn erotic if you're into that.
I mean, oh, sure.
But okay, all kidding aside, you have, because they fused because the original inspiration that Bram Stoker got for Dracula was Vlad the Impaler.
Right.
An historical tyrant who would impale his victims. So what Coppola did here, they infused both. They fused them together so that Dracula was Vlad the Impaler, and he was married and very much in love with his wife.
Right.
Love.
No, okay. That I'll pass.
Okay.
The Dracula did have a love for his wife, who he saw reincarnated as the fiance.
As Mina.
Yeah.
And so it's a love story of a undead guy he sees his long lost love. So his motivations are driven by love.
Right.
So it is a love film.
I'll also pass the fact that Keanu Reeves' character ends up prisoner, right? And he ends up more or less hostage with the three wives of Dracula, right? I would say there's worse ways to go, personally. I don't know about you. Now, I will say that his love for his fiance brought him back to England by literally tossing himself into the sea of next to the castle. That's commitment,
Right.
So that love I will also pass. And then she ended up cheating on him with the prince.
Right. So it's not about Mina's infidelity or
Right.
her, what was it? The money card?
Yeah, money card.
Yeah. It was Dracula's obsession. His character was motivated by love.
Right.
To reunite himself with Mina, which actually, now that I come to think of it, they kind of rehashed that in the film I saw a couple weeks ago, Fright Night.
Ah.
They have that kind of theme going where he sees a picture of her, or he sees her, she looks a lot like his dead wife or whatever from like 300 years.
You try living 300 years, see if people don't start merging into one person.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
I never thought of it
eternal
that
life.
So yeah, it is a love story in a sense, in that it is, the motivation is love.
Right.
And at least from Dracula and what's his name? Jonathan Harker.
Yes.
Now let's talk about Keanu Reeves in this.
Okay.
We really admire his work, him
I
as a
love
person.
Keanu.
Yeah, he's a great, he seems like a great guy, and the stuff that he puts out, it's non-pretentious, and it's very entertaining, and he's kind of talented. Kind of. You have Winona Ryder, who I think was kind of miscast a little bit,
Okay.
as Mina. She's not a bad actress.
No.
Sir Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he is fantastic.
Stole all of his scenes.
The other characters, Dr. Seward and the cowboy, very well cast. Keanu looked out of place.
He did. He sounded out of place.
He did. It's almost like you got this classically trained cast, and then you get, or like this situation, you got these people from the Victorian era, and then you throw in Bill and Ted, which he's very stoic. He's not a very emotionally driven actor.
And when you told me to watch the movie, you were just like, his accent is horrible, and I was like, okay, well maybe it is not that bad. And then his whole take on a British accent was just, oh, let me say big words to sound very well versed in the English language.
Yeah.
Like, wow, this is
with a slight accent that disappears and comes back.
and comes back.
It was it was pretty distracting. I think Francis Ford Coppola, not one of his better films, but it could have been amazing. It could have
been epic.
It could have, just in the mere sense of the casting, somebody else instead of Winona Ryder, who we love.
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves. With somebody else, I think this would have elevated the film with more gravitas from more talented leads.
Right.
So, but Gary Oldman, we forgot to mention this guy.
Oh, Gary Oldman.
This cat. I mean, you talk about a chameleon. He's been Winston Churchill. He's been Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols.
Oh.
He was, who else did he play? He plays a white guy who thinks he's black. He speaks in a Jamaican accent with gold teeth and has dreadlocks. And he pulls it off.
Oh.
He pulls it off. And, I've seen tons of his work, and he's always doing something completely different. Then you have him as Commissioner Gordon in what was it? Nolan. Christopher Nolan Batman films.
Series.
And, he's kind of this conservative, commissioner or cop, whatever, and very, he's just an amazing actor. And I think he did a great job as Dracula, though the whole wig thing was kind of weird, that white wig.
Yeah, it was. And then it started way back at the back of the head.
Yeah, it kind of looked like that character from one of the Star Wars films, the slave chick with the long, Return of the Jedi.
Oh, okay.
You remember the slave chick with the long thing sticking out of her? She kind of looked like that.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. But nonetheless, I mean, just an amazing performance. And it's kind of a shame that they didn't cast it better. But yeah, definitely consider that a nice Valentine's Day movie. So So let's wind it down. So if you're listening to this episode after your miserable Valentine's date and you need some time to unwind, well, you need something to kind of push you through. Then we just give you some suggestions that just may help you push through it.
Now, if you're trying to, get over that certain somebody, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, you recommended this movie to me way long ago. Every single time I get in a depressive episode, that is my go-to movie to get even more depressed.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not a feel-good movie.
No, it's not at all a feel-good movie. Well, kind of.
What's the other one that I recommended?
You recommended that I watch Donnie Darko and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind in the same night. Oh, you didn't recommend that I do that? I did that.
Not.
And then the next day you told me, oh yeah, watch this other movie, Requiem for a Dream. Wow, that one was a bender, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, you want to space those movies out like 2-3 weeks in between.
Yeah, no, I just decided to kill them all in like the span of 2 days.
There's some Bugs Bunny in between. You don't want to do that to yourself. Well, this that pretty much we're coming to the end of this new episode, and we hope you really enjoyed the episode and hope you'll join us next week with an all new episode. So if you really enjoy the pod, please help to support the podcast by giving us a nice 5-star rating, a cool review. Also, another way to support us is simply just subscribe and follow us on Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Audible, Boomplay, or wherever you're able to get your podcast fix. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and on our YouTube channel for updates or announcements. All the links, you can find it on our in our show notes. You can also contact us directly via email to thefilmjoepod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know how much you love the pod, how much you hated it, how much you disagree, how much you agree. I don't know. Just
anything.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So that's about it. So I'm Joe.
I'm Carlos.
And this is the Filmjoe Podcast, where film talk happens.